Alrighty, what's up, y'all? I know we've been gone for a little bit now. It's been a few years now, but this video is just gonna be a quick recap of where we've been. It's been like 3-4 years now. I'm not too sure how long it's been, but it's just gonna be a quick recap of everything that's gone on, all the builds that we've worked on, all the builds that we've done. I know you guys may have seen the change to the YouTube channel name. We went from F-Body Brothers to Sabas Performance. That's what we call each other now, but we still work on F-Body, so the F-Body content will still be here. But this is just going to be a quick recap of where we've been and what's been going on. Alrighty, so in that clip you guys have just seen right there, it was us doing a pull the same exact day that we ended up replacing the turbo. If you guys watched our last video, you would see that we ended up fixing the lifter tick issue that the Camaro had. And we ended up taking it out for some rips. And unfortunately, the turbo ended up sucking in one of the vacuum lines, or the boost lines, and ended up destroying that turbine on the turbo. And in the video, I was explaining that we were going to replace it with we didn't know what we were going to replace it with at the time. We were going to try to just replace the turbine wheel, but that ended up being something that we didn't do. We did end up getting that VSR Gen 2.5 billet wheel turbo, and it ended up giving the Camaro a pretty distinct sound. Sounded pretty good. A lot of people liked how it sounded. But after that, we did end up picking up these parts right here that you see in the photo. We picked up a 9-inch off a buddy of ours, picked up the 9-inch with the axles, and also ended up picking up the RSM tubular front end. That 9-inch, we never ended up slapping it in. We just ended up we're parting ways with that rear end. It was something that we wanted to do, but at the time we weren't really prepared for it. So we just ended up letting it go. The RSM front end, we did install it, as you're going to see in this photo right here inserted. This is when we pulled the motor and stripped down the engine bay right before we cut it. You could see that the bend on that piece of the frame in the corner. That's why we ended up cutting everything. This is right here when we ended up actually cutting it off. The bare bones front end right there. And this is the photo when we first put in those the bars that go in there. And this is right here is just a clip of the motor with the. And this photo right here is just the photo of the car with the motor in finally after getting those bars in. This next photo is us just getting the radiator clearance because we stood it up right here. This next photo is the battery relocation that we did. It wasn't the best, but you know, it worked. And if it works, it's fine. This is it after almost being fully completed. And that was just a clip of the car running after doing everything to it. It was running pretty good. It sounded pretty good. We did end up doing a hood stack out of it. Just a photo of it with the headlights and the bumper and fenders on. This photos us just at the gas station getting some fuel. Everything looked pretty good and everything was working pretty good at the time. Alrighty, so those were just some quick clips of how the Camaro was running after that tubular front end and the new turbo. The car was running pretty good. We did end up taking it to a new tuner, and the car was making some pretty decent steam. I know originally when we had tuned it on that Gen 1 turbo, the car was making around like 650 to 670 wheel horsepower. After this new turbo, it did feel a little bit quicker. We only got a street tune, so we don't know exactly how much it was making, but it was making some pretty decent steam. But it was just, ultimately, it was just a series of events that led up to us just eventually ended up parting out the car. You know, you got to figure it was just two young kids who didn't know what they were doing. We still don't know what we're doing, but we're just a lot older now. But, yeah, we just ended up parting out the car, parting our ways. You know, we lost a lot of money on that car, but we learned a lot from it. But here in these next clips, I'm just going to insert some photos and clips of the builds that we've been working on since we've been gone. and I'll just do a little bit more explanation on those here in a bit. So as you can see here in the screenshot from the good old Facebook Marketplace, you could see that we did end up parting ways with that blue Z28. It was a blue Z28. Well, it was my older brother's blue Z28 that helped start this whole channel. It was a real reason why we started this whole channel, just you know, just to upload and just see if any of our videos would interest anybody or help anybody that was working on these F bodies. We ended up listing the car for $6,500. It didn't sell for that. It sold for much less. But my older brother wanted to move on to something new at that point, and that a Z28 was just you know, we tend to get bored of a lot of cars here, as you'll see here in the next few photos. But we did end up parting ways with it. There's a long story to that car that I'll explain here in a bit. But yeah, sadly, we parted ways with that Z28, and we ended up getting something else, which I'll talk about here in a sec. So this is what I was referring to when I said that my older brother did end up picking up something else. It was a 03 LB7 Duramax. It was an extended cab. It was a pretty nice truck. He wanted something that was a diesel, and this was a good entry-level diesel, I guess you could say. But like 2 months into owning this Duramax, the CP3 did end up failing. We ended up replacing the CP3, which wasn't too easy to do, but you know, we figured it out. And it was running pretty good after replacing the CP3, but then not too long after that, we did end up having some fuel priming issues. We ended up getting that Duramax diagnosed, and they ended up telling us that it was an issue to do with the injectors. And looking at the prices of those injectors on those LB7s and how labor intensive it is to replace them, we ended up just deciding just to part ways with that Duramax, and ended up getting this 03, no, it was like an 05 Cat Eye Silverado, but this was a 1500 regular cab short bed with the step side. It was lifted on 24s, I think they're like Escalade Rep 24s. As you could tell, around here we like to buy doubles of a lot of vehicles, since we've had 2 Camaros and 2 Cat Eyes as of now. But yeah, the truck was pretty nice. It was a low mileage 4x4 Z71 truck. We ended up parting ways with those 24s and ended up getting these 20s right here, as you can see, 20s on 33s. We didn't end up doing too much to that regular cab short bed. You know, it was just an old regular truck, so like I said, we get bored of a lot of stuff around here. So we ended up getting bored of that one and parting ways with it as well. So within the time being of my brother owning that white regular cab short bed, I did end up picking up this 2007 Trailblazer SS. The truck was pretty nice. You know, it was a 3SS, so it had the full bells and whistles. The way it is in this photo is the way that I bought it. So it was, all that was really done to it was lowered on some Rep 22s, had a K&N cold air intake and a Corsa catback. I ended up keeping it like this for a while, but within, like, I'd say it was like maybe like 6 months of owning the truck, I did end up having an issue where it started making like a ticking noise. At the time being, I thought it was a lifter, so we ended up just doing a top end rebuild. You know, we did the lifters, lifter trays, head gaskets, things like that. We ended up starting it, and as you'll see in the clip that I'm gonna insert right here, it didn't end up fixing it. And the clip is the first start after doing the top end rebuild, and the noise just continued. We ended up finding out at a later date that the issue was to do with the flywheel to torque converter bolts coming loose, and that flywheel was just causing havoc and causing all that noise inside of the bell housing. So we ended up just getting all that replaced. And the truck ran pretty good. You know, the transmission lasted a while. But I ended up eventually blowing that 4070. I swapped in a built 4070 with a shift kit and some other goodies. And I'll just insert the clip here now of how the truck sounded with the noise of the flywheel and a photo of the built transmission. So as you can see from that last clip that I put and the photo, the clip was just of the noise that the flywheel was causing. When I thought it was the lifter problem, it ended up just being the flywheel. We ended up getting all that replaced. I replaced the flywheel on the torque converter. The truck ended up running good, probably for about like 6 months after that fix that we did. And then I did end up blowing the stock 4070. In the end, I did end up picking up a built 4070 from a guy on Facebook. His name is also Transmissions. He told me that the transmission was built and he had slapped in a shift kit into it. And well, yeah, you're pretty much all cut up on that Trailblazer. I also did end up slapping in some headers in it as well. But that's how it sits here. As you can see in the photo, it's just, like I said, it's lowered. Has chrome 20s, has headers, Canyon intake, of course, a cat back. And it's been stock for a while now. But we got some big plans coming for this Trailblazer, so make sure you keep your eyes out for it. So after my brother sold that regular cab short bed, he did end up picking up this 2015 Ram 1500. It was a pretty nice truck, you know. It was the sport package, so it had the whole 9 yards. It had the color match front and rear bumpers, leather interior, you know, things like that. It was a pretty nice truck. It was stock when he bought it. He owned it for about a year and a half, and within that time frame, he did end up putting on some 33s. He leveled it out and just put some rock lights. And within that time frame that he owned that Ram, we did end up picking up this white 2007 Trailblazer SS. It was a 2006, sorry. It was a 2006 Trailblazer SS. We ended up picking it up for a pretty good deal off a buddy of ours. We bought it with a locked-up motor. And we ended up tearing into it, which you'll see here in the next photos.
This is what happens when Uncle Rodney comes knocking on your all-wheel drive Trailblazer SS. Hole on both sides. Here's what's left of one of the connecting rods that exploded.
Alrighty, so as you can see from that past clip, my older brother did say that Uncle Rodney came knocking. They gave us a special surprise. They ended up giving us that extra rare see-through LS2. But what we ended up doing was swapping in a Junkyard 6.0. Since it was an early 06 Trailblazer, it did still have the 24 extra reluctor wheel, so we were able to do a Gen 3 6.0. We decided not to slap those knock sensors back in. We didn't know that it was going to be a pain in the ass in the tuning process, but our tuner got us taken care of. But like I said, we did slap in this Junkyard 6.0. We just gave it a once-over and a reseal. We did end up getting it cleaned up and painting it, you know, this real good-looking lime green color. We did end up swapping the top end over, though, to square port. So we just did some square port heads and a square port intake. We also did end up doing a BFD, a Texas Speed BFD cam. The truck ran pretty good, and it looked pretty good. I'll insert some clips here of how it sounded when it was running, but it did sound pretty good, and it was chopping real good. So there were some clips, just some short clips of the Trailblazer chopping. It sounded real good with that BFD cam. But like it's a common trend around here. We got pretty bored of that Trailblazer pretty quick. We had it running real good, probably for about like 2 months. Ended up listing it up on Facebook Marketplace. Our original plan was to just go ahead and sell the Trailblazer. But we got offered this pretty clean 2002 regular cab short bed Silverado. You know, it had a whole lot of work done to it. You know, dropped on 22s, color match, HD front end, custom cowl hood. The truck was really clean and we liked it. So we just decided to pull the trigger on it and end up trading the guy. He did end up adding some cash on his end. And yeah, we had this truck for a while. We had it probably for about like 6 months. But it was just the truck that was already built. You know, it wasn't the smartest move at the time. And like always, we ended up getting tired of it and listed it up on Marketplace. During the duration that that regular cab short bed was on Marketplace, we actually ended up coming across a listing for the old Z28 that my brother used to own. It was listed not too far here from Denver. And like I said, you gotta figure this is about 2-3 years down the line from the time that we got rid of the car. The car was listed for, I believe, like $3,000 originally, and we just kept our eye on it and just kept saying, should we buy it back? Should we buy it back? Should we buy it back? And the price just kept dropping and dropping and dropping on the listing, just because the motor was locked up on that car. So we were like, oh, it's not worth the $3,000 the guy had it listed for. We ended up bargaining with the guy and actually ended up getting the car back. We ended up paying, I believe it was like $950 for it. The guy had told us that the motor was just bad and that the transmission was new and things like this and that. But we ended up pulling the drivetrain out of that car. The motor was pretty messed up. It had exploded a piston. But we later found out that the transmission was bad as well. So after my brother parted ways with his 2015 Ram, and we parted ways with that red regular cab short bed, my brother did end up picking up this 2020 Ram 2500 with the Cummins in it. He bought it stock, but since he's had it for about a month now. He did a leveling kit on it and did some put some 35s on it. He does have other plans with it as well, just such as weight reducing and whatnot, but he's just waiting for the right time to go ahead and move forward with that. But pretty much you guys are all caught up as of now. You know, it's been a long 3-4 years now. We've had a lot of different builds now that we should have recorded, but it's just life caught up to us and other things. But yeah, thank you guys for making it to the end of the video. Appreciate the support. If you guys could subscribe and give the video a like, I'd appreciate that. We'd both appreciate that. And just stay tuned. Like I said, we are going to be building that 2007 Trailblazer SS here soon. So just stay posted for that. And thank you guys for watching.